So why do we love being busy? Identity, I think, for a lot of people.
Your job is not to work harder. It's to remove work.
Yeah, leadership is not necessarily busyness. I would actually say it's probably the opposite of that, to be honest.
So is it true that we think that if you're busy, you're making progress? Do we fall into that trap?
So yeah, busyness is avoidance as well. Putting off hard, I'm too busy to make this hard decision. We're too busy now to talk about that, to do that. Strategy, see that all the time.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
You usually open up with a little witty... something or other?
I'm going to do a dad brag.
A dad brag?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
brag away. Go on. What have we got to brag about? Apart from being a great dad, of course.
The boys' parents' evening the other night, which was at a school that you have some involvement with.
I do. Your talk there.
Talk there. And it was amazing, actually. It was a glowing report, not only academically, it was, for where he's at. Right. But it's his character that came through, which made me... You
do know he listens to this podcast every week. His whole class does.
The whole class, they love this.
Hello to Ethan's class, if you're watching, listening.
Yeah, I think they may have copied our images about 1,000 times across all the computers in the lab or something one time. But anyway, but what was really interesting was that he was really keen for us to see his English teacher, which surprised me, to be honest, because I thought,
that's not his top subject.
Not his top subject.
Right.
And so we went and saw his English teacher, and we sat down, and I could tell there was something because he was kind of like, oh look, you could tell he was going to have a moment. And his teacher said to him, said to us, I just want to say to you as parents, he goes, in the first lesson that I ever taught him, he came up to me at the end of the lesson and said, I just want to say that was the best English lesson I've ever had. And he goes, no student has ever said that to me. And he goes, you don't know as a teacher whether or not you're getting through to the kids because you hardly ever get any feedback from them. Yeah. And he goes, it was such a massive moment of validation for me as a person and as a teacher.
Is the teacher saying that?
Yeah, that he said this to me. And I just want to say thanks for,
Wow.
And I was like, oh. And he was sitting there beaming, just like... Oh.
He didn't know this was coming, right?
No,
he
hadn't set this up. And so, yeah.
Great,
so I just thought to myself,
there's a nice little heartwarming story
we could all
giving some feedback.
Sometimes you've just got to encourage other people and just say, sometimes a little word to someone can have a profound impact on their life.
Can I just say, thank you so much for setting up these podcasts and deciding what we're going to talk about. You do such a brilliant job. You do.
Oh, well, there we go. But no, so I thought, a little bit of encouragement, a little uplifting,
joking aside,
encouragement.
Right. I think us busy people as well, we're particularly bad at that, aren't we? Because we just move on to the next thing straight away, and you forget that you've just done something, and that's worth.
Or if you see someone that's done something, just encourage them in it, because you never know what your words have power.
Words have power. That's true, and give us some positive feedback. Be nice.
So I thought, there we go, a little story with a little lesson in it as well.
Gosh, it's like a little parable or a bit of something or other.
So, yeah.
I can imagine it in the pulpit.
Oh, well, yeah, so a brief homily.
Right, well, before we get too much into all of that, but thank you very much for that uplifting intro. We can now prepare ourselves for the rest of the podcast.
For the rest of the podcast, you can.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the SME Growth Podcast from Wellmeadow, where, as you know, every week we try to come up with something useful or interesting for owners and managers of small and medium-sized businesses, or small and medium-sized enterprises, if you prefer. It depends on which side of the Atlantic you're on. It's back to me and Rich again. We've had a little bit of break from guests. We had a flurry of guests, didn't we, around your area? So we're cantering through a wide variety of topics. And today's topic, I must admit, feels quite close to my heart this week. It's funny that you should just happen to alight upon it, but I'll explain more in a moment because it was, I think I got some priorities the wrong way around this week, and it's confessional time.
Oh, there we go. Well, there we go.
It happened on Tuesday, and I was supposed to be somewhere else and all that.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll talk about that. Anyway, more importantly, what episode are we on? Is it a round number?
It is a round number. 160.
160, definitely a darts finish.
So previous episodes.
Double top. Easy peasy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a simple one, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the GCSE darts finish. That.
Yeah, even I can do that one. Next week might be a bit trickier. Go on then. Yeah. So what were the last three? Have you any idea?
Let's hope that
I haven't got a clue.
let's hope that we've still got some listeners with us after last week's, because it was the relationships one that came out for Valentine's Day. And
our Valentine's special.
There were some blurry lines, and at points we were wondering, were we talking about some sort of agony aunt column versus business advice?
Yes.
So anyway, hopefully listeners were able to distinguish and apply it both in their personal and professional environments. So that was relationships in business. And then the week before that was 158, where we did a book review.
Unusual for us. We don't normally do book reviews. Not on demand.
Our learned selves read Co-Intelligence, which was a book by Ethan, somebody, can't remember whose name was now, but he wrote a book called Co-Intelligence, which is all about working with AI.
Us. That was the trigger, wasn't it, really?
It was sent to us, yeah. So that was good. And then the week before that, 157, was Company Visions in the Age of AI. How does AI influence your vision, and should your vision include some AI? So there we go. And
that was it. That was the last few. And as you say, last week's was themed around Valentine's Day, 14th February. This weekend, assuming that you're listening to this on a Thursday or Friday or so, is the England-Ireland Six Nations rugby match. We might fall out with our colleagues over in HubSpot, who are based in Dublin. I can imagine we'll be travelling across to Twickenham.
There could be a few WhatsApp messages.
With their shamrock hats. And there might be a few WhatsApp messages, yes. So given that this is now safely before the match, we can all be very cheery and friendly and wish that the best team wins. And then next week we'll have an argument about it.
I've been getting very into Irish road bowling recently on YouTube.
You showed me that YouTube. What on earth is going on?
I have no idea. It's just habit, road bowling. Apparently it's a thing. It goes back 150, 200 years. Apparently the Dutch brought it over. They do it in Holland.
Yeah.
Well, who would have thought? You have a 2 kilometre stretch and you've got to get a ball from one end to the next in the shortest number of throws.
All right. That's it. I thought you were going to say there was another team coming the other way. And
pretty much. I think that's it. And you can. I did look up the glossary, but there's some way you throw it over.
This is road bowling, and it's all about distance, isn't it? Right.
I think
we don't really have an English equivalent of that, do
we?
We do roll cheese down hills and things like that in some places. So maybe it's all as mad.
Anyway, we should.
Okay, so episode 160. We're almost too busy to do the podcast this week. Well, there's a clue there on the theme.
The irony of it.
The irony. We're going to call this "Why Your Busy Schedule Is Actually Killing Growth," or something along those lines.
Yep.
And my confessional was that I sort of cancelled a strategy/mastermind group networking day, which was supposed to be scheduled all day for Tuesday, but I was overloaded with stuff to do. Clients come first and all that sort of thing, so prioritised doing that. And it did mean that I didn't have that chance, like I normally do every 3 months, to sit back and just get challenged a little bit more at a higher level on where we're going with it all and what we're doing. So it was, in the moment, seemed to be the right thing to do because I had a lot to do. And sure enough, I've used the time and I've done stuff. But I've denied myself that chance to just reflect and think and take big picture perspectives. And that's exactly what you sort of picked up upon as this week's topic.
Yep.
As it happens.
Yep. Well, it's a subject I've been thinking about as well, quite a lot recently as well, in various different contexts. But it's that kind of I'm slammed equals I'm successful myth.
Yeah. That whole,
so we're going to
I must be valuable because I'm busy.
Exactly.
It's an ego thing, right?
Yeah. So, and I think it's something that a lot of business owners fall into the trap of. We've talked about that.
We're all busy, right? We're busy on the right things.
I think it was Neil Ackroyd when he came on, we talked about that in terms of what people are looking for in terms of business sale and things like that as well. If you're a busy business owner, you're not creating the value in the business. Yeah. So
if your diary is full, your business is probably starving.
Yeah.
Is the mantra.
So
is it true that we think that if you're busy, you're making progress? Do we fall into that trap? Activity for the sake of activity's sake. I'm not sure it's quite that crude, really.
No, I think it's a bit more nuanced than that. I think if you're constantly doing that, then there's a problem. I think there's always times when you're going to be in a growing business, all hands to the pump. You're going to be doing evenings, work, weekends, all that type of thing. But I think you've got to box that off and say, right, I can do this for a certain amount of time, and then am I seeing the results from it? because otherwise you just end up going round and round.
Yeah, I think there's probably some other more subtle and deep-rooted problems in all of there, that we all have certain things that we like doing and don't like doing, and you can get a bit fixated. Some of us in business tend to be quite obsessive about certain things, and if you get in there, maybe you're chasing perfection on something, or you're trying to hit a deadline that was unreasonable to start with, but you feel you rise to the challenge, or whatever, or you're trying to do 3 clients worth of work in the space that one should have fit. Either way, it's all those things which are all worthy, and you can understand them. They all come from the right place, the right motivation. But when added together, they lead you into this position of not being able to do anything properly, not thinking.
I think it's a cumulative effect of it, isn't it? And it's your, in the day-to-day, you think, well, actually, what I'm doing in this instance is something that is adding value, or is solving a problem, or is unblocking something.
And it almost certainly is, right? You're
not sitting there doing random stuff kind of thing. But over time, if that becomes a pattern, so I was having a chat with someone this week about this, saying, are you on the dance floor or are you on the balcony? And he said, I'm John Travolta at the moment.
Right.
It was quite
not
good.
just on the dance floor.
Yeah, he owns the dance floor. So I thought, well, how do we get to that point then? How do you actually move from that point of being on the dance floor to actually being on the balcony?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we don't need to explain that metaphor to our listeners, do we?
Well, we've used it a few times before, so regular listeners will have had time to digest that.
So a couple of myths then, maybe, around the I'm busy, I'm productive. Does productivity...
Yeah, I think the worst version of that is where, and you see this in some organizations, maybe not so much, well, maybe also with owners and managers, but with everybody, is that if you're in meetings, you're adding value.
Yeah.
We had the one recently with Kristen, who came in and talked about the psychology of meetings. This idea that being in back-to-back meetings all day long shows that you've added value, when in fact you've actually had no time to do work. It's very hard to do valuable work in a meeting, unless it's a workshop or something maybe, but most meetings are there to discuss, communicate, maybe decide things. So if I'm busy, I'm productive. Well, if you're busy just in meetings all day long, no, I'm not sure you are. I think you need space outside of that.
Reading something about Elon Musk and his meeting strategy. Like, if he set some rules up. And these are quite old. I think he wrote them 10 years ago or something when he was doing something with Tesla. And he said, if you're no longer needed in the meeting, just leave.
Yeah.
Just
make your excuses and go. And I guess that's easy for the boss to do, Elon and others, because everyone else will just think, oh, they must have something really important to do there, the boss. The reality of it is everybody should be able to do that. I've got something to do as well. It may not be important in your eyes, but it helps.
We started our weekly meetings with our 3 minutes per client.
3-minute timer.
Little visual timer.
Great little innovation.
And it
works
beeps
quite well. End and everything.
Beeps at the end.
It's quite threatening.
Goes red. That's it. Time
it's
up.
A kid
move
toy,
on.
Isn't it?
It is, yes, to help kids manage their time on the bottom step or whatever it is. But.
So that's certainly one, that whole I'm busy, therefore I'm productive. I think the other point as well is about choosing wisely what to do next. It's that whole prioritization problem, that sort of holy grail of how do you know what the next most important thing is to do. And I've fallen into that trap only this morning, actually, because I've spent a bit of time using exactly that day I talked about earlier on that was freed up to help a particular client in need. They've got a particular crisis on at the moment, and we always try and go above and beyond when a client is in a situation like that. But that's rumbled on to the point where last night, way after hours, I got another email saying, oh, flipping it, we just realised we need this doing as well, and we've got to have it done by the weekend, and, could you do it? And I'd already explained that I got too much else on with other clients. And yet, but really, if you could reshuffle things, and of course, it's this hero complex, isn't it? You want to be able to say, oh, go on then.
Oh, go on.
But there's a consequence.
Put my cape on.
Yeah, put your cape on. So does that just mean now I have to work overnight tonight? Probably, or weekend or whatever. So it's a tricky one to solve that, I think, when you're in the line for delivery, as small business owners and managers tend to be. We are there managing the business, we're selling, managing the team, and doing some of the delivery. And the delivery can easily dominate, can't it?
Well, and delivery is what people tend to like, because that's what they started off doing, right? That's how the business
Dopamine
started.
hits. Where did I read that? Dopamine hits. Yeah, every time you take a task off, even if it's as trivial as answering an email, you may not think of it as a dopamine hit because it's so minor, but they all adds up. Every new unread email that you can mark as read and completed, or task you can cross off, especially that physical putting a line with your pen through an item on a piece of paper. That's quite a satisfying
when you get to the end of the day, you've crossed them all off.
Even if we're on ClickUp and we just tick the complete status change, you think, oh, yeah, I've done it.
Yeah.
And yet you don't get those dopamine hits when you do deeper thinking. So it's very easy to get drawn into it. It's addictive.
One of the other things I think that keep people busy are maybe not putting in those kind of systems and structures around them that can help is if they slow down, everything collapses. And I remember working with one client once who'd gone away for, half a week or something, and there was no money came into the business. It was very consumer based high street thing. And so ever since then, he just didn't want to take any time off because if I'm not here, it doesn't make any money. I was like, that's madness. You've got 50 people here. Surely someone can help. But
it's certainly easier when you got 50 people, right, instead of 5 or 10 or 15. But even so, that thought that I need to be there, otherwise it will run. There was a quote I read as well that it's not really a business if you're like that. It's just a job that you've got that employs people.
Yeah.
And that's not the same at all as having a business. Yeah. There was something in an episode some time ago that we did, which came up with that really interesting phrase that if you're overloaded, it's the first sign that there's something wrong with your business model.
Yeah.
It's not just because you're not prioritizing well, or that you aren't enough hours in the day, or you've sold too much. There's something wrong with your business model. And I think that's the realization that, sometimes you need to come to. And maybe we at times need to wake up and smell the coffee as well, because we get very busy. We get all those dopamine hits. All the clients are saying what great work we're doing. Obviously, the top line reflects it. But actually what it means is that you've got something else wrong. You're either accepting the wrong work, you're structuring it the wrong way, you haven't got the right number of people or the right mechanisms to deliver it.
And I think there's always probably going to be a little bit of lag and stuff on that, isn't there? Like, you don't want to recruit loads of people. When we've been there, we recruited a lot of people before we thought the work was coming, and then it doesn't maybe turn out that way. And then
that does come in, but something else reaches a natural end.
And so there's always going to be that tension, but I think it's how long do you live with it for?
Yeah,
I think there's always going to be creative tension there. So some of the traps then, we've touched on some of them. Hero complex.
Yeah. We've talked about that. It's great to have that cape on, and you get that phenomenal rush when the client says, "Oh, I can't believe it! You really helped us out of a hole." Which is my example this week, where I really do help. I think I'm helping a particular company in a crisis, but other things suffer, and because other clients aren't allowed to suffer, it means your time suffers.
Yeah. Well, if you wear the cape, you can't scale.
If the cape fits.
I don't think they're going to be writing that on a fortune cookie anytime soon. The next one, false urgency, we've talked about, and that's I just thought classic Eisenhower matrix stuff here.
Yeah, urgent, important.
Work out where it sits in the priority matrix of that.
I think the problem there I've got as well, and this relating again to this example this week, the urgency that's been created, the crisis that I'm helping them solve. I really do think if I were to speak to someone more senior in the organisation, we might be able to diffuse that a little and say, no, that could probably be done next month.
Yeah.
But because the person who's been given the task has been told to do it this month, they will. But they're not able to challenge the deadline. They've just been given it. But at a business level, does it really matter if that's done by this weekend? Yeah, maybe not.
Exactly.
But it's a false deadline.
Yeah. Random work days. So planning. I'm trying to be much more disciplined with that this year in terms of how I
I could probably learn from you a bit on that. I do use the calendar quite well and block out stuff, but if it's a notional blocking out rather than an actual meeting with someone else, I know quite clearly in my head that it's notional. Yeah. So then when that email pops up saying, "Can you help me with this now?" you get the dopamine. Oh, go on, I can just squeeze that in, and then it turns out to be more complicated than you thought, or involve someone else.
I'm not saying that I've got it right at all, but I'm just thinking about it a lot more. Boundaries is my word for the month. I did a talk on that recently for a group I'm involved in, and I'm trying to apply some of that. But
the other day, I put a morning aside to do some work and started doing it, and then an email pinged from someone that I sent a proposal to saying, "That's great, thank you very much for your proposal. We'd like to go ahead. Can you now produce, the documentation and send us the invoice for the upfront payment and all that sort of stuff?" And you think, well, I've read it now. I can't unread that. I can't unknow that. Someone wants something. That's a great dopamine hit. We've just won some business. Hurrah! You ring the bell, and I don't know. I couldn't tear myself away from then having to do that thing. Process that new contract.
So if you know that, then you've got to almost step back and say, I can't look at my emails when I'm doing
That's
this
the
other
thing.
work.
That's my point. If I hadn't read the email, I would be none the wiser.
Yeah.
I'd come to it a few hours later. The sky would not have fallen in.
like you
We
just
wouldn't have
said.
lost the contract,
Yeah.
right? We're okay.
Nothing's,
But because it had just happened, I thought, oh, wow, that's right. Chuck another one up, get another contract out,
Yeah.
get the invoice raised. That's perfect. That's what I should be doing. But it didn't have to happen right then.
No.
But when you know that that's on the list, it jumps in your mind anyway, straight to the top of the list. Which it shouldn't. And the only way around that is to not open the email. Because if I'm at a client site doing, you know, as people know, we chair a lot of board meetings. I don't sit there looking at my emails when I'm chairing a board meeting. I'm trying to manage 3 or 4 different simultaneous thoughts as it is. I couldn't, I'd explode. So you come out of it and, fine, you pick up your emails. Not a big deal.
Yeah. Discipline, isn't it?
Discipline, yeah. So random workday.
Random workday. Delegation, but you still check everything.
Yeah, there's that great phrase there, isn't it? That you delegate the outcome, not the task. I like that.
Yeah, let people choose how they do it.
Don't send that email or create that spreadsheet, but look after that client.
Yeah, and I think that obviously comes with some caveats, and also you need to have the right people you're delegating to, and the right skills, and the right tools, and the right systems and processes around it. But that's the job of the business owner to put those in place, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm going to give a name check to Nigel now, because I was sat in a strategy meeting the other week that Nigel was designing and facilitating. And I really liked several elements of it, actually, but one particular element that struck me, maybe others would benefit from, is especially in a large organization where maybe there's been some recruits that you as the owner haven't personally been involved in recruiting, or it's just got to the size, there's a certain amount of churn. But get each manager to summarize not only who's in their department, but what's their roles and responsibilities. And when Nigel got everybody to do this at this company that I'm referring to, it was really quite interesting to see for the first time, oh, that's what they do. That was the first outcome. But then the second one was, well, there's some gaps there then, aren't there? Because if all these people are doing that, who's doing this?
Yeah.
And it allowed you for the first time to sit back as a designer of the organization to think, well, thanks for that picture of what it is, but what should it be? And because they hadn't ever made that explicit before, you just assume too much, don't you?
That's quite interesting, because you could almost visually write that out as the, what's the ideal org structure here? Yeah. Do that exercise and start ticking off, right, okay, Bob's there, Jim's there, Lisa's there, Right, well, actually, who's doing this job? Yeah. Who's that? And you'd have a map at the end of it as to...
Yeah, I suppose they did it the other way around. They said, this is what we do. And there's a danger you're leading the witness on that, isn't there, I suppose? But the other one, we often say as a very simple way for companies to work out who are the key roles in their business. But there's only really 3 or 4 main things, depending on type of business. Design it, make it, sell it, count it. So if you're designing your high-level org structure with CEO at the top, you then need, if they're all relevant for you anyway, all 4 of those: design it, make it, sell it, count it. And then you think, well, what's the next level down from that? Under the design it stage, what's the pithy 3 or 4 quick sort of it-based statements that reflect how do we design it then? We have to, I don't know, these aren't it statements, but find out what we need to design. Maybe it's a bit of product development, R&D. It's find out what customers want, find out what's already out there. Yeah. Do some prototyping, whatever. Just break it down anyway. It's a bit like a work breakdown structure when you're creating a project. And then work out, well, who's responsible for all those bits? They're logically complete. Yeah. Have we got someone that owns them, or are we just delegating emails and spreadsheets rather than the outcome? Yeah. Okay, good one on delegation.
Busywork disguised as progress, which is another kind of...
This is the chasing perfection thing, is it? And redoing things, overdoing things.
Redoing things, I think, reworking proposals, research.
Maybe a bit of displacement activity as well. Definitely. I know I've got to do that cold calling bout or ring up that awkward customer, but let me just go and check my emails one last time and see if I can find something else to do.
I don't know, we've talked about AI probably ad nauseum, but this is where... This is where I think the AI piece probably starts to just... the amount of company research you can do now in like 3 seconds.
Does it for you.
It just does it for you. Yeah.
I wonder if that takes away the temptation to do it yourself, or whether you then indulge in the output that it's created and start wallowing in that, reading it all in great detail and stuff.
But yeah, be brutal with it. Be brutal with...
And not chase the tiny optimizations. I get that. There's some research I did recently for a client and fed it back, and we're rolling this out to others. If you, in your CRM, you get it to plot the win rate based on the age of the deal. And clearly it's going to tail off over time. But people aren't very good at guessing where it tails off and then what to do with that information. And if you work out that your win rate drops to, unusably low levels after, let's say, 180 days of a deal, why do you still do anything at all on deals over 180 days?
Yeah.
Surely the signal there is to say, right, we'll work it up to this point, and then we'll let it run its own life. And if it comes back, it's icing on the cake, but don't waste. So that's an interesting, maybe if you haven't got that in your business, do you think your sales leaders know what is the policy? When do we stop actively chasing deals? On which circumstances?
Yeah, how do you put the barriers on the Busywork, isn't it? Or the checks?
Yeah, it's
Safety
kind of
checks.
a partner of fail fast. It's not necessarily failing fast. It's not giving up on things either. It's just saying that there comes a point where the return on investment on chasing this down just isn't high enough. I'm better off doing something else.
I was talking to someone about this yesterday, about just do you know the rules of thumb of your business? And that would be one, isn't it? If 180 days deal win rate is 3%, right, stop chasing. And right, so that means 90 days we've got to do something pretty drastic if we haven't known. Cause
I like that idea of a set of rules of thumb. Maybe there's kind of 10 things that you could almost tease a business owner with to say, do you know, A, what's your market share? What's your average margin? What's your win rate? What's the average cycle time to win a deal? Where are your main competitors active? I don't know, just some of those.
Just that, 10, maybe we should do that. 10
even
rules
how
of thumb
sensitive
podcast.
is pricing in your market? If you put all your prices up by 10% tomorrow, how much business would you lose? It's just simple things like that people probably need a bit more of a handle on than they have.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a different podcast.
That's a podcast, that is.
That's a whole podcast.
Good podcast. And we talked about meeting addiction and things like that.
Yep.
So why do we love being busy? Identity, I think, for a lot of people.
I think you're
Here we
right. Yeah,
are
if you go
on the
home,
busy
it's
one.
funny, the first thing that happens, you go in the back door, how's your day been? And there's probably only 3 or 4 sort of stock answers, really. A bit like normal, a bit admin heavy, just doing stuff. Or, flipping busy, crazy, I'm really behind, I've got to work. Or, I don't know, really, I've got a bit, I had too much time on my hands and I didn't do stuff. They're probably your best days. Probably had a chance to think and chat to your colleagues and work out what's going on. But you sort of deprioritize those, don't you? Because of this, I'm busy, therefore I'm adding value. Quite tricky is if you've grown up through the ranks and you've been doing stuff all your career and then suddenly you become the owner or manager of a business, to give yourself permission not to do stuff every minute of the day, but just stop and think.
One of the best questions I was ever asked at an interview, someone said to me, do you work well under pressure? And I said, yeah, I think so. They said, do you need the pressure to work? I thought, well, yeah, actually, probably.
Yeah.
Because you leave,
well, there's that firefighting
to the last
thing.
minute, but it just...
I used to work in operations, factory management and that sort of thing. And I definitely noticed this trait in some characters that they loved problems to solve.
Yeah.
And the hero complex again, but that firefighting, there's another problem over there, go and put that fire out. Almost to the point where they let fires get created, not create them, but they almost rejoice in the fact, there's a problem, I can go solve it.
That's almost like tactical versus strategic, isn't it? So I think, who is it? There's a book called Strategic Intent, who I can't remember who it's by. Strategic Intuition. And he talks about the difference between expertise and strategy and just how with like experts, like a firefighter or someone like that, they just go through, they practice so many times, they know exactly what to do in that situation. It's not strategic. It's just, we know what to do in this crisis because we've done it and we've trained for it and we're experienced. Whereas strategic thought needs something completely different in terms of the processes you go through. So,
William Duggan.
That's the one.
The Creative Spark in Human Achievement.
Yeah, really good book. Definitely recommend that.
I can do that. 10 quid second hand.
On your reading list. But yeah, so I think sometimes people like that, well, I can just go and solve that problem. I know how to solve that problem, so I can just let that become a problem and I'll solve it.
That's right, if you know. So in the factory setting, if a machine had broken down and you thought, I know what's happened there, I can go and be the hero over there because I know I've just got to tap that corner with a hammer or tighten up that thing or replace the oil. Something that's complex and difficult and new, maybe you leave those things for another day. And certainly preventative maintenance, who wants to do that? No hero for that, is there? I've stopped something that hasn't happened yet that no one will ever notice not ever happening.
Yeah.
Well done.
Exactly. So yeah, busyness is avoidance as well. Putting off hard, I'm too busy to make this hard decision. We're too busy now to talk about that, to do that. Strategy, see that all the time. Firing people, strategy, accountability, those sorts of things.
Those difficult things, put those off. We talked about the dopamine hit of small things. And it's interesting, the phrase that admin is actually quite addictive. And I don't think this is only true for some people. There's that whole point about clearing off an email, clearing out your inbox, doing
inbox
stuff on your
zero.
to-do list. Yeah, it does give you a sense of satisfaction.
Finish
And
the
yet,
day.
you can spend all day just answering emails.
Yeah.
And the paradox, of course, is that the faster you answer emails, the faster they come in, because that's the conversation speeding up.
FOMO as well, fear of missing out.
Which means you want to read every email, make every call, do everything, be involved in all the meetings, rather than just saying, no, that's not my patch. That's not what I'm here for.
Exactly.
You do that, I'll do this.
Busyness looking like leadership, confusing leadership with busyness. I mean,
yes, I can't possibly speak to you now. I'm way too busy. I'm way too important to do anything like that. Yeah.
I haven't quite got to the stage yet where I sign off my emails
For regards.
For Richard.
I
people
see.
sign off and they just use their initial.
Because they're too busy to type the full name.
Too busy to type the full name.
Surely it's in your signature anyway.
Well, that's what I would have thought. It's just quicker. Let's just do it once and it's there. But that's, busyness. Too busy to do that. But it's, leadership is not necessarily busyness. I would actually say it's probably the opposite of that, to be honest.
Yes.
If you're leading well.
Yes, if you imagine those sort of sage-like characters that we see in fiction, they're not flapping around being busy all the time, are they?
No.
They're usually sat there contemplating and thinking about stuff.
It means you've got your strategies and your systems in place, isn't it, to do that?
Business model. So we've got to have a few strategies to deal with this, but we're nearly out of time.
We're too busy. Too busy to tell you. So come back next week.
There's a cliffhanger. I'm going to solve it.
No, I guess quickly, okay, so if you think you're busy, if you are busy, what can you do about it? You want to solve that problem. Yeah. Start with an audit.
Look at where you're spending your time.
Look at where you spend your time.
Yeah, exactly. Look at your calendar. Be honest with yourself. How much of that did you really need to do? Stop being quite so available. Yeah. I see this a lot when I'm working with managing directors and owners, that our conversation will be interrupted by someone coming in and saying,
open
can
door
you make
policy.
a decision on this? Yeah, when they should just say, well, do whatever you want. I trust you.
Yeah.
Make sure that you prioritize some time to actually do your job being a CEO or a manager, and don't expect everybody else. Don't do whatever you think everyone else expects, which is just keep busy doing stuff. It's okay. Just close your door, suck a pencil and think.
Balcony time.
Yeah, balcony time.
Get up on the balcony. Get up on the balcony. Go for a walk. Do something like that. Yeah. Change your routine is probably a good way of doing that.
Or maybe put some rules in place. Don't do emails between certain times. Don't respond instantly to stuff. Don't always have your Outlook open even, so that you're going to get these constant
I like this one about a not to do list.
Yes, the opposite.
That would be
that's the rule. That's a bit like your golden rules, isn't it?
Yeah.
Don't do quick favors for people who,
So if you had a not to do list, and then you said these are all the things I'm not to do, but I'm currently doing, and then you cross those off, that would be pretty satisfying, wouldn't it? As you delegated them, and as
you'd be worried that, well, who's going to do them then?
No, but once you've delegated it and you put a system in to do it, you go right. That's
systemizing. That's important. You're going to save time for that. But that's part of that business model thing. Are we handcrafting proposals every time we have to do one, or have we got a way of being able to systemize that? Doing the weekly meetings, how do we systemize that?
Delegate outcomes, not tasks. We touched on that. Trust the team.
Trust the team. Yeah, give people a whole area to be responsible for. Don't just do it task level. That's what you do if you had a trainee, not if you had senior managers in place. A weekly reset ritual. I quite like the idea that Monday and Friday meetings have got something special about them. You start the week or you wrap up the week and make that a ritual. Something we said before, I wish we were better at being able to get to the end of every week saying, yes, we've done everything we set out to do. Even though there's still a million things to do and there's a million things that people are asking us for, we've still had a good week on some measure.
It's coming. It's a ClickUp.
You're getting ClickUp all organised for us. And then kill off all the low value stuff.
Yep.
Good.
So
your job is not to work harder. It's to remove work.
Wow, that's a soundbite.
There's a soundbite, yeah. Good. Okay. Well, look, I don't know if that's inspired some people or not. It just felt very raw this week, as I say, because I was prioritizing the doing of stuff because I happen to have a lot of stuff to do. And the thing that got sacrificed was my own time, but also my time with other business leaders doing a little bit of blue sky thinking and reflection, which is always going to be important, non-urgent.
Yep.
And this week it got bumped. So I hope I get to reschedule that soon. And if you're a client listening, don't worry, I'm not going to abandon you, but we will have to just work longer. Work the weekend.
8-day weeks.
Exactly. Right. Thank you very much.
No problem.
That's very good. And thank you for listening to another episode of the SME Growth Podcast from Wellmeadow. Please forward it on to somebody else, especially if they're busy, unless, of course, you haven't got time to do it. And in the meantime, good luck with your business.